So I'm Meryam. I go to SOAS, so School of Oriental and African Studies, and I study international relations. I think I'm friendly, empathetic, but also kind of blunt as well once I kind of get to know you a bit better. I feel like a lot of people come to me for advice. I don't know if that's because I am blunt and I'll give them pretty much what they need to hear, but I think I am quite understanding with a lot of things, just because I think probably because I've been through a bit and I wanted someone to be understanding with me as well, so I kind of tried to sort of do that as well with other people. I feel like the worst thing is to be judged, and if I come across as judgmental, then I think that's the worst thing ever, so I try to be more empathetic with more people so they feel a bit more comfortable. I definitely struggled a lot when I was younger. I think now, because I've been to therapy and I have better coping mechanisms, I don't struggle as much, but I definitely dealt with a lot of things in the past. I feel like I was a bit introverted, but a bit too introverted sometimes. I think I stressed out a lot about going out and seeing different people. I think just the anxiety around that and the fact that I didn't know what it was made it so much worse. And then I felt a lot of pressure about being around other people as well. I think that affected my moods a lot, so the combination of the two kind of made me feel even worse. At the beginning of lockdown, I was kind of annoyed because I was during first year of uni, so I was kind of ready to go out, and then once the lockdown sort of hit, I was okay, so I don't know what to do, I actually want to go out. But then once I kind of got used to it, I kind of liked the fact that there was no pressure around going out. But then that also made me too comfortable with being alone, and then maybe being a bit more anxious about going out again. So it was kind of going back to that and sort of figuring out how I can sort of go back into society after lockdown and the pandemic and stuff like that. I think definitely being around the wrong type of energy, maybe the wrong type of people, the wrong type of crowd, or just the wrong sort of place definitely triggers a lot of things that I had to deal with. I think that's why it's so easy to isolate yourself, because you don't really get triggered that much by external things because you're by yourself all the time. But also that is a downfall as well. It's obviously not good to be by yourself all the time. It's hard for me to talk to people sometimes, so I'd rather do things by myself. So eating or going on a walk or something is something that really helps me a lot. Sometimes just feeling the emotions is better than trying to suppress it, or just talking to myself. It sounds kind of crazy, but sometimes I literally just talk to the mirror just so it's easier to get all my thoughts out. I would say this might be a bad thing to say, but this is how I deal with it. The pressure is all in your head. Everything that you see on social media, your perspective is what's changing it, because a lot of people have come forward and said that that's not how I am on social media, or this is fake, or they've shown before and afters. Just even if that's not helpful, just the fact that everybody's sort of focusing on themselves. Even on social media, they post for themselves rather than other people, and if they want other people, it's for validation. So things with body image and stuff like that, pretty much everything is fake. People do things the highlight of their life. I don't know if you've seen people literally post the highlights, and if you take that personally, it is it's not your fault, but it's your perspective. You have the power to change that in your brain, and if you're going to take everything personally, then you're obviously gonna go into a low mood, or you're gonna become anxious, and it's just sort of how it works. It's kind of, yeah, it's literally in your head, I would say. I don't know what it is. You know, sometimes you just want to wallow in the sadness, and you're let me just play this song again and then maybe it will help me out. But I think avoiding just things that make you feel comfortable in your sadness, or just in the mood that you're in, is really helpful. I can't meditate. My brain just doesn't let me meditate, and exercising is a lot of energy as well for me. So I just think putting less pressure on myself, if it's just maybe eating something that I've wanted to eat for ages, pancakes or something, then I'll let myself do that, and it's kind of a nice little coping mechanism for me. Treating myself. I let myself feel those emotions, but I don't let the emotions overtake the day. So even if I am feeling I'm in a really low mood, it won't stop me from going out, because if I'm gonna go out with friends that understand that, I don't feel that extra pressure. So I think if you can, if I can go about my everyday life. If it's too much, then obviously I'll stay at home and I'll probably eat something nice, or watch a good movie or anime or something. But if not, then I'll kind of make myself feel a bit more normal, or make myself feel I'm not letting myself down, because I'm still doing things that I have to do. do. I'm definitely going to look after myself before other people, because people are doing the same thing. Like everybody, it's not a selfish thing to look after yourself, because sometimes you need it. And like I think especially I put a lot of pressure on myself to make sure that everybody else feels alright, but like I'm not feeling alright, so what's the point in doing that? So I had a lot of expectations going into first year. I think everybody sort of bigs it up or like hypes it up like it's going to be the best year of your life, you're going to meet so many people. But I went to a uni in London, and I think that's like such a different experience in comparison to unis like on campus or anything. I think it was a bit underwhelming, especially London is so expensive as well, so it's not like you can go on every night out, and like there's a lot of different types of people, a lot of international students, just a lot of people even older than you. Like my flatmates, all of them were like above 22, so it's not like I had like the first year experience. But I think once I got over that sort of expectation, I kind of realized that this is a good experience anyway, and like first year is like what I make of it, even if it's not like going out and drinking or like just going out and having the first year experience that I thought I would have. If anything, it kind of made me feel a bit better because I didn't have that pressure to go out and yeah, sort of do that kind of stuff. So I was living in halls in King's Cross, like London, for like 6-7 months, and that was an interesting experience. It wasn't the uni experience that I thought I would have, but it was good anyway. And then the lockdown was like in March, and then I had to come back home because it just wasn't feasible and it just wasn't sensible to stay somewhere and just be locked up and pay so much money, especially in London. So I did come back home, and that kind of like cut short the experience because I was kind of just getting comfortable around that time. I feel like everyone goes a bit mad like at the beginning, but you don't actually get comfortable until the kind of end sort of time, and I was just getting comfortable and I had to come back home. So that was just a bit annoying, but I kind of got over it in the end. There was a lot of instability, like one minute we were allowed to go out and then the next minute we had to stay at home, and then it was just the fact that you didn't know what was going to happen in the future affected you a lot because you didn't know, like you couldn't plan and you didn't know when it was going to end. I think just having an end point was a nice goal to sort of reach, but the fact that we were kind of just in limbo and we didn't know what was happening, there wasn't that much information, and also other countries and other people were sort of coming out of it, that it was kind of annoying sometimes because you just wanted to go out, and especially like being young as well, you just kind of want to go out and socialize. So it was, yeah, that was kind of hard to deal with. Myself and like a lot of my friends really struggled with motivation, even going to lectures because they're all online, like you can do them from your beds. It was so hard, and tutorials as well were so hard to catch up on. If you missed one, like you missed so many, and you just didn't have the motivation to do it again or do any more. And then assignments kind of came on top of that, and the fact that people kind of like, not necessarily like my lecturers and my tutors because they were really understanding, but I think people sort of pushed like uni students to the side, and they were just a bit like, you deal with what you got to do, like you just have to study. But we were in a pandemic, like we were at home, it was a really bad sort of scenario, and we still had to like be top tier, and we had to perform the same way that we would perform like if we were just in a normal scenario, which was kind of annoying, and it kind of added to the fact that the motivation wasn't there and there was extra pressure from that. Once the lockdown eased, I think going to like coffee shops or just going out, even going to the park. One time I literally went to the park and I just sat there with my laptop, and I was like, this is better than being at home, because sometimes you're at home and you're too comfortable in that scenario. Just a different environment, different scenario. Like even if you were with your friends but like you didn't go to their house, you literally just went to a coffee shop, was so much better than over the phone. Because I mean, if you're looking at a screen 24/7, I got loads of headaches and like migraines, my eyes were burning, so it wasn't a great situation. Just seeing people in real life really helped. Everything is over, like the screen, internet, anything is 24/7. You're just like watching a screen, whether it's like watching a lecture or if you want to like take some time out and then go on your phone, it's still on a screen. So it was really like, it wasn't too great, especially like physically. Like it really affected like just my moods as well, because if I'm just watching a screen 24/7, it's definitely going to affect me as well. Like my eyes were burning, as I said. I just wasn't in like a great headspace because I wasn't seeing anything. It was just all over the internet, so it was just like in my room in the dark just watching a screen. I'm not putting pressure on myself because I think a lot of people will like say that they're gonna do this and that, but I'm just gonna finish a degree. I think finishing a degree is more than enough for a second, and then just see where my head is at and just see what happens. I'm still young, I'm not gonna really plan anything because nothing goes to plan anyway, so I might as well just go with the flow. If I'm gonna have a job, I probably don't know what it is now. Like it might be like a random job that I don't even know the name for, so we'll just see what happens. I feel like the issue isn't with students. I think a lot of young people are so willing to talk about it. It's just the people on the other end, so like the people that have to listen and are gonna like have some sort of action towards it. I think if you want to talk, maybe talk to the right people. Just talk to somebody that you're comfortable with, because nothing's really going to go wrong if you just talk to somebody that will understand you. But I think it's less students and more older generation, or maybe people that are a bit more closed-minded to like the idea that people struggle mentally, and it's the same thing, if not worse, than like somebody struggling with like a broken leg or like a broken hand or something. You still need time to sort it out. It's just sometimes you need like less pressure on it. I think sometimes when people try to relate to things, it kind of overtakes what the person's saying, like kind of undermines what they're saying. So maybe like even if you went through a similar situation, that's probably what they don't really want to hear, that they just want to know that somebody's listening to them. So I think maybe just letting them listen and just like making sure that there's a safe space is probably the best thing to do. Advice is going to only get you so far, especially when you don't have a diagnosis anyway. So like the advice is kind of going nowhere, because for example, I fall down and then somebody is like, why don't you like go for a walk? It's like, that is helpful sometimes, but that's not why I'm coming to you. And sometimes you just want somebody to listen to you and like just know that you're in a bad space, and that's fine. Like you don't have to be better straight away. I think the advice kind of means that you need to get out of this as soon as possible, when sometimes like that's just not going to happen. I think sometimes just chilling out and like relaxing on the advice a little bit is helpful. You shouldn't have a solution for everything. Sometimes it's just a safe space to talk, rather than just you should do this or like have advice or like a solution for everything. Definitely in my culture, it's like if you have a mental problem, it's more like you're weak or you're lazy in comparison to like a physical problem where you actually need to heal. Like the mental is kind of pushed to the side, because especially like for example my parents, like they're both immigrants, they came here to work, so working is the main priority, and so like mental health kind of comes second. And with their kids they kind of expect the same thing, because they didn't receive that same sort of like, they didn't really have a safe space and they don't understand what it takes to make a safe space. So their first reaction is like, you'll get better, you'll be fine, because that's the same thing they said to themselves. So I feel like in like my culture especially, that is definitely like the main thing that happens. Like you're kind of pushed to the side, and if it gets really really bad, then they'll do something about it. But if it's sort of mild in their opinion, then it kind of, you still need to deal with your everyday life just the same way as they did. Mental health is so common with everybody, so the fact that people think you'll just get over it, or I felt it as well, but they're kind of invalidating that feeling, because it's not something that you should shove to the side. Like you should definitely deal with it the same way you deal with a physical like illness or like a broken leg or something. And it probably gets worse, and it probably has gotten worse for them as well. It's just that they didn't let themselves heal properly, so they're kind of forcing it on like the younger generation to do the same thing, and it's just sort of like a vicious cycle that keeps going. If you're going to let your leg heal, then you have to let like your mind heal as well, even if it takes longer. No, the point is you feel happy. I think, you know, like parents, if they're expecting a child, they just want their child to be healthy and happy, and that sort of kind of gets lost once you get older and you become an adult. I think that's quite interesting. Like there's no cure, it's more like how you manage it. And managing it, I mean, it goes up and down, like it really goes in waves, and sometimes it's good and you're feeling better, and sometimes it's bad, and maybe like a bit more patience or understanding would help a lot of people that are going through that as well. I'm grateful for my family, so like my cousins especially. I'm grateful for my friends. I mean, that's the simple thing, like emotionally intelligent people. I think I'm also grateful for like sometimes like my uni, the uni that I went to, the people there were so nice. I literally have heard horror stories of people from uni that they didn't get any help at all, and I'm so thankful that I was never in that situation. Like everybody was so willing to like listen to me, even if it was just me rambling about my assignment. So I'm really grateful for that. My uni was quite good personally. I found that they were really well equipped, like they have like mental health like part in their website, and they have people that are really willing to understand and listen to you. And even if they're not a part of that, a lot of people that just like lecturers and tutors and stuff like that. One of my course conveners, he was so nice. Like, he literally reduced the reading, he helped us so much with the assignments, and I've never seen that before, and I thought it was really nice that he took like time out of his day to really help us. I think you can tell when people have been trained in comparison to like them just being a good person, like just being empathetic, because people that have been trained, they were not trained for a pandemic, and it kind of showed. Like, the mental health services were there, but the people that actually cared about the students kind of like outshined them, because it was coming from like a more sincere place in comparison.